नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्ति भवति नैष्टिकी। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे शेषशून्यवादि पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। श्रीमद् भागवतम कैंटो 6 चैप्टर 16 वर्स 18-19। ओम नमस्तुभ्यं भगवते वासुदेवाय धीमहि प्रद्युम्नायानिरुद्धाय नमः संकर्षणाय च नमो विज्ञानमात्राय परमानन्दमूर्तये आत्मा रामाय शान्ताय निवृत्तद्वैतदृष्टये। Narada gave Citraketu the following mantra: O Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, who are addressed by the Omkara, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O Lord Vasudeva, Dhimahi, I meditate upon you. Pradyumnaya, O Lord Pradyumna, Aniruddhaya, Lord Aniruddha, and Sankarshana, Namaha, I offer you my respectful obeisances. O reservoir of spiritual potency, O supreme bliss, Paramananda Murtaye, I offer you my respectful obeisance. Who are self-sufficient, Atma Ramaya, Shantaya, most peaceful. O ultimate truth, one without a second, you are realized as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, and are therefore the reservoir of all knowledge. So, Prabhupada is explaining this Vijnana Matraya. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that he is Pranava Sarva Vedeshu, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. In transcendental knowledge, the Lord is addressed as Pranava Omkara, which is a symbolic representation of the Lord in sound. So just like Hare Krishna Mahamantra is a transcendental sound representation. So Pranava Omkara, also it is a symbolic representation of the Lord in sound. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vasudeva, who is an expansion of Narayana, and expands. So this Vasudeva is an expansion of Narayana. Narayana means the second Chaturvyuha. So Vasudeva expands himself as Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Sankarsana. Prabhupada is talking about the first expansion. Okay. From Sankarsana comes the second Narayana expansion. And from this Narayana come further expansions of Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Sankarsana, Aniruddha. The Sankarsana in this group is the original cause of the three Purushas, namely Karanodakashaya, Garbhodakashaya, Kshirodakashaya Vishnu. Kshirodakashaya Vishnu is situated in every universe in a special planet called Shweta Dvipa. It is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, Anda Antarastha. Anda Antara. The word Anda means universe. Anda Antara. Stha means Sthita. Within this universe is a planet called Shweta Dvipa where Kshirodakashaya Vishnu is situated. From him come all the incarnations within this universe. So from him come all the incarnations, meaning whenever there are incarnations that are required, the incarnations come from this body of the Lord, Kshirodakashaya Vishnu form of the Lord. Confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, all these forms are Advaita, non-different, and they're also Achyuta, infallible. They do not fall down like conditioned souls. The ordinary living entity is prone to falling into the clutches of Maya, but the Supreme Lord in his different incarnations and forms is Achyuta, infallible. Therefore, his body is different from the material body possessed by the condition. Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita, when this word Achyuta comes, Sthapaya me Achyuta, Guna tells, Ratham Sthapaya me Achyuta. So then Prabhupada explains Achyuta is infallible, that infallible, that the Lord becomes the chariot driver of his dear devotee, but he doesn't fall down from his supreme position. He explains it that way there. The word matra is explained in the Medini dictionary as follows: Matra karana vipuchayam vitte mane parichade. The word matra, in its different imports, is used to indicate the decoration of the ear, possession, respect, and the possession of a covering. Mm. Okay. Decoration of the ear, possession, respect, and the possession of a covering. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, matra sparsha. They arise from matra sparsha, sense perception. In the conditioned state, the body is used as our dress. And as one needs different dresses during the summer and winter, we condition souls are changing bodies according. So here this matra is possession of a covering. So here this matra sparsha is the covering of the soul, which is the body. However, because the body of the Supreme Lord is full of knowledge, it needs no covering. The idea that Krishna's body is like ours, that is, his body and soul are different, is a misunderstanding. There are no such differences for Krishna because his body is full of knowledge. Here we receive material bodies because of lack of knowledge. Because Krishna Vasudeva is full of knowledge, there's no difference between his body and his soul. Krishna remembers what he said 40 million years ago, or what is the difference between Krishna's body and our body. Thus, Vijnana Matraya Paramananda Murtaya. So Vijnana Matraya, that's what Prabhupada explained here. And reservoir of all knowledge. Because the Lord's body is full of knowledge, he always enjoys transcendental. So this is very because the Lord's body is full of knowledge, he always enjoys transcendental bliss. Meaning when we are in full of knowledge, knowing that we are transcendental, then we don't experience suffering. Indeed, his very form is Paramananda. This is confirmed in Vedanta, Anandamaya Abhyasa. By nature, the Lord is Anandamaya. Whenever we see Krishna, he is always full of Ananda in all circumstances. No one can make him morose. No one can make him morose, but he can become morose. Different discussion. Atma Ramaya. He does not need to search for external enjoyment because he is self-sufficient. Kantaya. He has no anxiety. One who has to seek pleasure from other sources is always full of anxiety. See, our anxiety is because we are seeking pleasure from other sources. Karmis, Gnanis, and Yogis are full of anxiety because they want something. But a devotee does not want anything. He is simply satisfied in the service of the Lord, who is fully joyful, is fully blissful. The Lord is fully blissful. Devotee does not want anything and is simply satisfied in the service of the Lord. So he is fully blissful. He doesn't have any expectations in life. He doesn't want this, that, nothing. So he is fully blissful all the time. There's no anxiety because he's not seeking any pleasure from anywhere else. Very nice, Prabhupada. It's beautifully described. Anxiety, one anxiety is because we are not in control of this world. The other is we are seeking pleasure outside. Now, when we stop seeking this pleasure outside, even though we are not in control, we don't remain in anxiety. And a devotee becomes blissful just simply by he's not seeking pleasure from outside and is simply satisfied in the service of the Lord. So he is not in anxiety and is always blissful. Nirvata Dvaita Drishtaye. In our conditioned life of our bodies have different parts. Although Krishna apparently has different bodily parts, no part of his body is different from any other part. Krishna can see with his eyes and Krishna can see without his eyes. Therefore, in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, it is said, Pashyati Achakshuhu. He can see with his hands and legs. He does not need a particular body to perform a particular action. Nganiyasya sakalendriya vritti manti. He can do anything he desires with any part of his body. Therefore, he's called Almighty. Okay. So glorification of the Lord. Glorification of Atmanandanubhut. Yaiva nyastashaktyurmaye namaha Rishikeshaya mahate namaste nantamurtaye. Atmananda, perceiving your personal bliss, you are always transcendental to the waves of material nature. Therefore, my Lord, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. You are the supreme controller of the senses. Your expansions of form are unlimited. You are the greatest, and therefore I offer my respectful unto you. Mahate, greatest. This verse analytically differentiates the living entity from the Supreme Lord. The form of the Lord and the form of the conditioned soul are different because the Lord is always blissful. As the conditioned soul is always under the reformed material world. The Supreme Lord is Sachidananda Vigraha. He derives Ananda from his own self, and everything is an expansion of his own self. The Lord's body is transcendental, spiritual, but because the conditioned soul has a material body, he has many bodily and mental troubles. The conditioned soul is always perturbed by attachment and detachment, whereas the Supreme Lord is always free from such dualities. So you see, each and every sentence the Prabhupada writes is an insight into our conditioned existence. Because we have material body, we have bodily and mental troubles. Because we are always perturbed by attachment and detachment, we are suffering. The Lord is the supreme master of all the senses, whereas the conditioned soul is controlled by the senses. It is the greatest, whereas the living entity is the smallest. Living entity is conditioned by the waves of material nature, but the Supreme Lord is transcendental, all actions and reactions. Expansions of the Supreme Lord's body are innumerable, but the conditioned soul is limited to only one. From history, we learn that a conditioned soul by mystic power can expand into 8 forms, but the Lord's bodily expansions are unlimited. This means that the bodies of the Supreme Lord have no beginning and no end, unlike the body. Like Prabhupada said, this verse analytically differentiates the living entity in the Supreme. Vachasupharate prapya yo yeko manasa saha anamarupaschinmatraha sovyana saddha satparaha. Words and mind of the conditioned soul cannot approach the Supreme Person. For material names and forms are not applicable to the Lord. The words and mind of the conditioned soul cannot approach the Supreme Person of Godhead. All the material names and forms are not applicable to the Lord, who is entirely spiritual beyond the conception of gross and subtle forms. The impersonal Brahman is another of his forms. May he, by his pleasure, protect us. So please understand that our mundane words and mind cannot approach the Supreme Lord. So by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which is non-different from Krishna, we are approaching him. It's not mundane words. These are transcendental sounds, transcendental. And hence we are able to approach him. Otherwise, by our mundane words and mind, we cannot approach him. And how are we approaching him by the mind? Because the mind has become spiritualized. The extent we are becoming spiritualized, we can approach him. Otherwise, by material mind, we cannot approach him. That is why that Gnanis, they just end up in their thinking about the Supreme Lord is called mental speculation. And whatever, if we accept whatever is there in the Shastra, because the Vedas are also transcendental, so then our thoughts also become transcendental. So we should understand just mundane words and mind cannot approach. With mundane words and mind, we cannot approach. And we have to take the transcendental means through Sadhu Shastra. They are the transcendental means to approach Supreme Lord. We cannot approach him by ourselves, by our conditioned, words, mind, etc. यस्मिन्निदं यतश्चेदं तिष्ठत्याप्येति जायते मृण्मयेष्वैव मृज्जातिस्तस्मै ते ब्रह्मणे नमः. As parts made completely of earth are situated on earth after being created and are transformed into earth again when broken, manifestation is caused by the Supreme Brahman, situated in the Supreme Brahman, and annihilated in the same Supreme Brahman. Therefore, since the Supreme Lord is the cause of Brahman, let us offer him our responses. So this cosmic manifestation is caused by the Supreme Brahman, Situated in the Supreme Brahman and annihilated in the same Supreme. King is outside him. Supreme Lord is the cause of cosmic manifestation. He maintains it, and after annihilation, he is the reservoir of everything. Everything enters into him. Yanna sprishanti na vidur mano buddhindriya sabaha antarbahishcha vitatvam vyomavatannatosmiham. The Supreme Brahma emanates from the Supreme Person of Godhead and expands like the sky. Although untouched by anything material, he exists within and without. And just like the Atma also is untouched by anything material. Nonetheless, the mind, intelligence, and senses and living force can neither touch him nor know him. I offer to him my respectful obeisance. Again, we cannot understand him. Dehendriya prana mano dhyomi yaddamsha viddha pracharanti karmasu naivanyadalohamiva prataptam taneshu tadrushtrapadeshameti. As iron has the power to burn when made red hot in the association of fire, so the body, senses, living force, mind, and intelligence, although merely lumps of matter, can function in their activities when infused with a particle of consciousness by the Supreme Person of Godhead. Iron cannot burn unless heated by fire. The bodily senses cannot act. Brahman. Red hot iron can burn, but it cannot burn the original fire. Therefore, the consciousness of the small particle of Brahman is fully dependent on the power of the Supreme Brahman. Smritir Gnanam Aponam Cha. Me, conditioned soul, receives memory, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Power for activities come from the Supreme Lord, and when the Lord withdraws his power, the conditioned soul no longer has energy with which to act through his various senses. So please understand that our strength of the senses or the energy that we are getting to act through our senses is just given by the Lord, and if he withdraws his power, it's gone. So we better use the energy in Krishna's service so that he mercifully continues to give his power and doesn't withdraw it. If we use our energy in sense gratification, then the Lord might withdraw that power. Of course, the Lord also withdraws power of devotees when it is not required. Like he withdrew the power of Arjuna after the battle of Kshetra. But that's still for the welfare of the devotee. The body includes 5 knowledge acquiring senses, 5 active senses, and the mind, but actually these are merely lumps of matter. For example, the brain is nothing but matter. When electrified by the energy of the Supreme Lord, brain can act just as iron can burn when made red hot by the influence of the fire. The brain can act while we are awake or even while we are dreaming, but when we are fast asleep or unconscious, the brain is inactive. So Shupti is called unconscious state. In that state, the brain is inactive. When the brain is a lump of matter, it does not have independent power with which to act. It can act only when favored by the influence of the Supreme Person of Godhead, the Brahman and or Parabrahman. This is the way to understand how the Supreme Brahman, Krishna, is present everywhere. Just as the sunshine is present because of the sun god. The Supreme Lord is called Rishikesha. He is the only conductor of the senses. Unless empowered by his energy, cannot act. In other words, he is the only seer, the only worker, the only listener, and the only active principle. Meaning, he is the only seer means it is only because of him all this is happening. But still, the jivas, na datte kasachit papam, na chaivas. Jivas become responsible for their good and bad activities. So the energy is given by the Lord. They can either use it in the right way or misuse it. So use or misuse is up to the jiva. But yeah, because even for whatever the jivas are doing, also the supreme sanction is the Parabrahma, the Paramatma, and thereby Parabrahma. So nothing happens. Tena vina trinopi na chalati. Without him, nothing will happen. But still, we become responsible for whatever we do. But without him, nothing will happen. The important thing. Om Namo Bhagavate Mahapurushaya. This is pros. Om Namo Bhagavate Mahapurushaya Mahanubhavaya Mahavibhuti Pataye Sakala Satvata Paribuddha Nikara Kara Kamala Kudmalo Palalita Charanaravindha Yugala Parama Parameshtin Namaste. So Sanskrit is flows like water. Om Namo Bhagavate Mahapurushaya. This Mahapurusha, him enjoyer. Mahanubhava, perfect realized soul. Hmm. And Mahavibhuti Pate, mystic power. Vibhuti, Vibhuti Pate. Hmm. Kala Satvata, Parivrudha of all the best devotees. Nikara of the multitude. Karakamala, the lotus hands. Udmala with words. Upalalita served. Charanaravinda Yugala, two lotus feet. Rama Mestin were situated in the spiritual planet. Mate. For transcendental Lord, who are situated in the topmost planet of the spiritual world, your two lotus feet are always massaged by a multitude of the best devotees with their lotus bud hands. They are the Supreme Person of Godhead, complete in six opulences. The Supreme Person mentioned in the Purusha, most perfect self-realized master of all. May I offer my respect. Two, it said that the absolute truth is one, but is manifested in different features as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Previous verses describe the Brahman and Paramatma features of the absolute. Now, this prayer is offered in Bhakti Yoga to the absolute Supreme Person. The words used in this regard are Sakala Satvata Parivruddha. Satvata means devotees, Sakala means altogether. The devotees who also have lotus feet serve the lotus feet of the Lord with their lotus hands. Hmm. Devotees may sometimes not be competent to serve the lotus feet of the Lord, and therefore the Lord is addressed as Parama Parameshtin. Hmm. He is the Supreme Person, yet he is very kind to the devotees. No one is competent to serve the Lord. But even if a devotee is not competent, the merciful Lord accepts the humble attempt of the devotee. This is mercy. That's all. Shri Shukavacha Bhaktayaitam Prapannaya Vidyam Adishya Naradaha Yayavangirasa Sakam Dhama Swayam Bhuvam Prabho. Kadai Goswami continued. Narada, having become the spiritual master of Citraketu, instructed him fully in this prayer because Citraketu was fully surrendered. O King Parikshit, Narada then left with great sage Angira for the topmost planet known as Brahmaloka. When Angira had first come to visit King Chitraketu, he did not bring Narada with him. However, after the death of Chitraketu's son, Angira brought Narada to instruct King Chitraketu about Bhakti Yoga, because Narada is the um, empowered incarnation, devotion. Is empowered with devotion. The difference was that in the beginning, Chitraketu was not in a temperament of renunciation. He was not in a temperament of renunciation. But after the death of his son, when he was overrun by his great plight, he was awakened to the platform of renunciation by instructions regarding the falsity of this material world and material possessions. See, so we might not be in a temperament of renunciation, we might not be ready to renounce, but Krishna mercifully will create some situation in our life when overrun by our great plight, we become awakened to the platform of renunciation, meaning um, we just stop being attached to this material world. Because we understand the falsity of this material world and material possession. It is only at this stage that Bhakti Yoga can be instructed. So, see, this is very important. Somehow, some devotees are fortunate to actually not be too attached to material things, and some others, like fallen souls, we have to go through severe suffering to actually come out of this attachment. I was so attached to my body that Supreme Lord actually punished me, is still punishing me because I'm still have material attachment. Right, but that is the mercy of the Lord, because if He doesn't punish, He doesn't, then we'll continue to remain attached. So only when we give up all this attachment to material things, then stage of Bhakti Yoga can be installed. That's Brahma Bhutam. As long as one is attached to material enjoyment, Bhakti Yoga cannot be understood. What does this mean? What does this mean? Bhakti Yoga cannot be understood. The minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment, resolute determination of devotion. Yoga cannot be understood, meaning the beauty of Bhakti Yoga, the happiness experience in Bhakti Yoga, the great power of Bhakti Yoga, the ultimate bliss in Bhakti Yoga. All this cannot be understood. Mm. And so, resolute determination does not take place. We will do okay, best effort, much ever we can, we will do. As long as one is very much attached to material enjoyment, one cannot concentrate his mind on the subject matter of service. The Krishna consciousness movement is progressing successively in the Western countries at the present moment because the youth in the West have reached the stage of Vairagya. See, it's so brilliant this is. So when Prabhupada went to the West, though everything seemed so much to, not in line with his requirement for preaching, right? But implicitly, the Lord had created a state of, or had created a group of people called the hippies who had reached the stage of Vairagya. They are particularly disgusted with material pleasure from material sources, and this has resulted in a population of hippies. Now, if these young people are instructed about Bhakti Yoga, the instructions will certainly be effective. See, this so powerful. So it was all arranged by the Lord. Lord arranged everything for to go and effectively spread Krishna consciousness. And that's, you can say, then what is the qualification, or what is the what is the achievement by Srila Prabhupada? He surrendered, he surrendered to his guru, his desire to please Prabhupada, to please Krishna. So all this resulted in Krishna in creating a favorable atmosphere. Prabhupada in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he says, in about Arjuna, how that Krishna creates auspicious situations for his devotees. This is a live example. As soon as Citraketu understood the philosophy of Vairagya Vidya, he could understand the process of yoga. Sarvam Bhattacharya says, Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga. Vairagya Vidya and Bhakti Yoga are parallel lines. So please note this. One is essential for understanding the other. It is also said, Bhakti Pareshanubhavo Viraktir Anyatra. Advancement in devotional service is characterized by increasing renunciation of material enjoyment. Otherwise, we can't say that we are advanced. If somebody is materially attached, he is not considered advanced. He might be advanced in years, he might be advanced in terms of number of years in Krishna consciousness, but he is not considered spiritually advanced. So the characteristic is that their renunciation of material enjoyment. Narada Muni is the father of devotional service, and therefore this causeless mercy of one King Gira brought Narada Muni to instruct. See, this is another thing. It's just by the mercy of devotee. And a well-wisher brought a devotee. These instructions were effective, were extremely effective. Anyone who follows in the footsteps is certainly a pure devotee. What is following in the footsteps of Narada? Narada doesn't give any, he is not, trying to help people become materially comfortable. He just, every opportunity he gets, he just pulls people out of this material entanglement. So anyone who follows in the footsteps, Prabhupada did exactly this, pulling people out by his empowerment, by his compassion, everything. Just pull people out. We also have to follow in the footsteps. Citraketustu tam vidyam yatha narada bhashitam dharayamasa saptaham abhaksha susamahitaha. Fasting and drinking only water, Citraketu for 1 week continuously chanted with great care and the mantra given by Narada Muni. The mantra was the first mantra. After that, then there are various other verses which are mostly explaining. Tatasa saptaratrante vidyaya dharayamanaya dharyamanaya Vidyadharadhipatyam cha lebhe pratihatam dripam. After only 1 week of repeatedly practicing the mantra received from the spiritual master, Citraketu achieved the rule of the planet of Vidyadharas as an intermediate product of his advancement. So this we should understand that if we are actually purely engaged in devotional service, material benefits also come by as an intermediate product, but only provided only that is favorable for Krishna consciousness. So a devotee, after being initiated, adheres rigidly to the instructions of the spiritual master. He is naturally endowed with material opulences of Vidyadhara Adhipatyam and similar posts as byproducts. Hmm. After being initiated, adheres rigidly to the instructions of the spiritual master. He will get material opulences and posts, etc. But also depends on for devotee says, okay, anything is fine for the pleasure of Krishna, then Krishna decides. But some devotees might want position, name, fame, etc. And also not in a bad way. They just want to become something. Then Krishna gives that also. But for all that, one has to rigidly follow the instructions of the spirit. A devotee need not practice yoga, karma, or gnana to achieve a successful result. Devotional service alone is competent to award a devotee all material power, all material opulences. Everything can be got simply by devotional service. Mm. We know devotees who are in not in material comfortable position and they're trying so many ways to get material opulences, going to uh, astrologers, this, that, struggling very hard, not giving enough attention to devotion. But only thing that anybody needs to do is only devotion. It should be not with the intention saying that, okay, I will do devotion, I'll get this. Not like that. Just not having, not wanting anything else, just pleasure of Guru and Krishna. And then Krishna will give whatever is not there, whatever is needs to be given. Ananyas chintayantoma. Yogakshemam vahamyam. Now, there might be one question, right? Saying some devotees are naturally renounced, some people are not, and they still desire material. So what should they do? They should just associate with a pure devotee. So if we keep hearing Srila Prabhupada's purports every day, we're constantly in touch with pure devotee. So then we will also get that infection. It's infectious. Pure devotee, however, is never attached to material power, although he gets it very easily without personal endeavor. Citraketu received the side benefit of his devotional service, which he rigidly performed. The important thing is rigid performance. Tivrena bhakti yogan. Even though these things are so clear, somehow still uh, devotees want to do mixed bhakti, casual bhakti. Why? Because they're not reading Prabhupada's purports. And those unfortunate souls who cannot read in English, especially in Karnataka, they are really disadvantaged because they can't really understand what Prabhupada is writing. And so they will see somebody who might not be following the path of pure devotion and just think, okay, this is okay, this is also bhakti, looks like. Tata katipaya paya hobir vidyayedha manogatihi dagama deva devasya sheshasya charanantikam. So fortunate. Within a very few days, by the influence of the mantra, his mind became increasingly enlightened. Mind became increasingly enlightened in spiritual progress. Nidha managati. Mind became enlightened. And Deva Devasya Sheshasya Charanantikam Jagama. And he attained shelter. The Deva Devasya, master of all or lord of all the demigods. Oh Shesha. Not Shesha, Ananta. Charanantikam. He got the shelter. A devotee's ultimate achievement is to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, planets in the sky. As a result of rigid execution of devotional service, a devotee receives all material opulences if these are required. Otherwise, devotee is not interested in material opulences, not award. If they're required for what? For execution of devotion, if these are required. When a devotee is actually engaged in devotional service, his apparently material opulences are not material, they're all spiritual. Hmm. This is actually engaged in pure devotional service. Then, for example, if a devotee spends money to construct a beautiful and costly temple, the construction is not material but spiritual. And now, oh, sorry, important thing is devotee spends money to construct a beautiful and costly. There are so many people who have so much of money, but they don't want to give it for Krishna. Give it to Krishna. Sometimes you've seen even devotees, they don't want to give money to Krishna because they're worried about their future. So much faith in Krishna. A devotee's mind is never diverted to the material side of the temple. The brick, stone, and wood used in the construction are spiritual. Just as the deity, although made of stone, is not stone but the Supreme Person. The more one advances in spiritual consciousness, the more he can understand the elements of devotional service. Nothing in devotional service is material. Everything is spiritual. Consequently, a devotee is awarded so-called material opulence for spiritual advancement. His opulence is an aid to help the devotee advance toward the spiritual kingdom. So amazing. So how we should understand this? Don't worry about your future material life. Just focus on devotion. Krishna will take care of the rest. It's so simple. But somehow people still can't understand. It's a straightforward statement here. Devotee is awarded so-called material opulence for spiritual advancement. No, it obviously doesn't mean that you use money to make spiritual advancement, right? But if there is need for money, for example, somebody needs to maintain their house and money is required, but they're focused on spiritual advancement, then that opulence is given as an aid by the Supreme Lord to help the devotee advance toward the spiritual kingdom. So Krishna will give. No doubt, Krishna will give. Krishna will take care of his devotees. There's no doubt. It just depends on our faith, whether we trust these words, these sentences Prabhupada is saying. That's all. Thus, Maharaja Citraketu remained in material opulence as a Vidyadharapati, master of Vidyadharas, and by executing devotion service, he became perfect within a very few days and returned home back to God at taking shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Sheshanand. A karmi's material opulence and a devotee's material opulence are not on the same level. By worshipping Lord Vishnu, one can get whatever he desires, but a pure devotee never asks Lord Vishnu for any material profit. Instead, he serves Lord Vishnu without material desires. But just imagine, by worshipping Lord Vishnu, one can get whatever he desires. Now, suppose, say, some devotee is praying to the Lord for something, and if the Lord is not giving it, it simply means that Lord doesn't want to give it because it might be detrimental in the devotee's spiritual progress. He might not give, but he can give if he wants, if he thinks that it's okay, it's right for the devotee. But of course, the pure devotee does not ask anything. Instead, he serves Lord Vishnu without material desires and therefore ultimately transferred to the spirit. So, Mishra Bhakta, mixed devotee, might ask Lord Vishnu for something, and if it is not going to very badly entangle the devotee, then the Lord will give it. But a devotee, pure devotee does not ask anything, Lord doesn't give him also. Because ultimately he gives himself, he gives his spiritual kingdom, he gives everything to the pure. Kilavira Raghavacharya comments. By worshipping Vishnu, devotee can get whatever he likes. Citraketu wanted only to return home back to Godhead and therefore he achieved success in that way. He wanted only this, Prabhupada is saying. But along with that, he also got Vidyadharapati position, he got material opulence, that. But his aim was not to get all that. So this only by this we can clearly understand, right? Somebody doesn't know, doesn't trust, then we can just see the life of Citraketu. Now, you might say, okay, Citraketu was already king. Yeah, might be king in this material world, doesn't mean that he will be given position of Vidyadhara, Pati. So whatever material opulence now came his way was not because he was aspiring for it. It was just that Krishna thought that it is appropriate for him to give it for some reason that Krishna knows. But Maharaj Citraketu wanted only to return back home, back to God. He didn't have any other desire. And that he achieved. Okay. So this will stop. This is beautiful description of Lord Shesha. But this will discard. Okay. I'll stop here. Any questions, comments? So beautiful. Now, when we read Bhagavatam properly with Prabhupada's purpose, we can actually understand things that Prabhupada is actually wanting to tell us. Prabhupada is telling so clearly, isn't it? Some purports I've seen very complex, difficult ones. Most of Prabhupada's purports are very, very straightforward. But who can understand it? Only who has faith in Prabhupada's statements and who has surrendered, who is ready to understand what Prabhupada is saying without mental speculation, without his own interpretation. Because see, when Prabhupada is saying that, okay, he gives material opulences. Now he gives material opulences. But to whom? To a pure devotee. Why? Because if it is required for devotion, it's so clear. We don't have to interpret it. No need to interpret it anyway, in any other way. Simply that we have to read Prabhupada's purport as it is. How do we stop ourselves from interpreting Prabhupada's statements? Can somebody answer this? See, now all of us are reading this, right? The same purports, right? And now, how can we say that, for example, I'm not interpreting it? Or I'm just repeating what Prabhupada has said? How can we say? Or how does one ensure that he doesn't interpret? Any answers? And this is the trick to understanding Prabhupada's books, to understanding the message as it is. How should we read so that we don't end up interpreting? What is the meaning of interpretation?
Yeah, interpretation means, Prabhu, I mean, if there is no clear understanding, right? If there is an ambiguity in the statement, then you try to interpret. But I mean, Prabhupada's statements are pretty straightforward. They're up to the point, right? So then what is the point of interpretation?
So then when do we interpret? So there is interpretation, right? Like people sometimes interpret.
Assume things, bro.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
What does that mean? What does that assume things mean?
Hare Krishna,
Basically-
Prabhu.
Yeah, Mataji.
Sorry. When you read it and you feel remorse, you feel a sense of, you want to change, a sense of, like renunciation coming in. And many times you say, nahi, ifs and, like you are adding ifs and buts to it. Nahi, okay, nahi, aise kya ho gaya to? Then you know that you're interpreting.
Okay.
Like you want to mold it with reasons to your side.
Suit yourself.
Give excuses like you've not got up. Suppose you're not eating prashadam. So to kya ho gaya? So, but then the instructions are very clear cut.
Yeah.
So, Prabhu, you can gauge where you're not following.
Yeah. One is that. So the other thing I want to add, especially for when we read, when we start reading Srila Prabhupada's, now everything is a new piece of knowledge. I'm giving a very practical understanding of how interpretation happens. Okay. Everything is a new piece of knowledge. Okay. Now and our knowledge is just, the knowledge base is just getting built up, right? So then you read something, then you might not be able to understand it fully. Because you're reading something and it's not fully clear to you. It's not fully clear. So then what do? You don't try to interpret the meaning. So you know that, okay, the sentence I read, I couldn't completely understand it. What you should do? You should go to other senior devotees who are more advanced than you and ask them. Or just park it and continue reading. So if a line is not straightforward to you, then you don't try to create some meaning out of it, your own meaning out of it. Number one. Number two, suppose say you do, sometimes it's difficult to even differentiate, saying that did I create meaning out of it or did I accept the meaning as it is? Right? Then what you should do is, as you keep reading, if you have created some new meaning, you will see that that meaning that you have created is getting contradicted elsewhere in Prabhupada's books. Meaning you're reading something else, and then you suddenly figure saying, "Oh, I thought like this, but this statement is clearly saying that that's not true." So then you understand saying that, "Oh, I had interpreted it. It was not what Prabhupada actually meant." So this is a practical way of knowing whether we are interpreting or whether we are actually understanding the message as it is, because Prabhupada repeats his instructions in different ways throughout his books. Is this clear? Is this explanation clear? Because this is where people go wrong, actually. Even I've seen many times devotees who are, like not the exalted souls, great preachers, but some devotees who are like in still early stages of their devotion, but they have been asked to give a class, etc. I see that devotees are interpreting. There's something else, they're explaining something else to that. Then we can understand saying that, okay, this person is actually not qualified to sit on the Vyasasana. And then those who are managing speakers should also sit in those classes, and of course they themselves should know what is right, what is interpreted, what is actually as it is. And then such devotees who are interpreting should be given some time to equip themselves with the right knowledge before they can sit on the Vyasasana, because it's offensive to say, to find mistakes in the person who's sitting on the Vyasasana. But at the same time, the person sitting in the Vyasasana should be qualified. So, which is why we have to be very careful. And mostly, which is why when I ask devotees to give class, then I request them to actually send me a recording. Because I want to make sure that nothing they're speaking is wrong philosophically. They might not be able to completely do justice to the discussion, but that's okay. That will come with experience. But at least they should not be giving wrong information. They should not be telling wrong things because of that interpretation. So this is very important. But if you simply like as it is here and let that go in. The other thing about reading Prabhupada's books is we read something which is tough. We are not able to follow it. It's okay. It's okay. But we don't change the instruction. We will just retain the instruction and say, okay, yes, Krishna, I know I'm such and such. I'm not able to. But I know that I have to get here. Maybe I'm not even ready to get here, but I know that I have to get here. So we have to read Prabhupada. If you are able to read Prabhupada's books like that, his pure devotees, potent words, they'll just wash away all the rubbish. But we should not keep, we should just park them, right? Okay, this one I'm not able to follow, this one I'm able to follow. Okay, we can have one list of things that we are not able to follow. But we should be sincere about it. Yes, Krishna, I'm so powerful. I'm not able to follow this. Please give me mercy. Then it will happen. And which is why we are very, wary of translations. Because translation, the person who's translating also has to be pure. Otherwise, it will get misinterpreted or wrongly presented. Or the appropriate words are not. Many challenges we see in our books in Kannada. Prabhupada ready to Kannada. Many mistakes because those people who did the translation were not devotees. Just some professional translators. They couldn't understand the mood, what Prabhupada is saying, and they tried to give the literal meaning of English, which cannot be understood because Prabhupada is giving a devotional purports are his devotional ecstasies. Who can understand a great devotee's devotional ecstasy? Nobody can. But by his mercy, maybe somebody wants to following his instructions, very sincerely, mercy to understand it. Right. So it can't be. Translation work has to be done by surrendered devotees who are who want to just present the message as it is. Just anybody and everybody cannot do this kind of services. Non-devotees. Okay. Yeah. Anything else? Okay. जय जगद्गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। हंसाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृतानां वैष्णवेभ्यो की जय। गौर भक्तवृंद की